The internal security is greater in Linux too. You don't log in as root unless you want to actually work on the operating system. Normally, as an ordinary user in the Linux system, Windows is getting closer to that now, but still, I don't think it's as good.
No, many corporate users don't lock down their machines, their Windows machines, so that the average user is going in as a limited user that can only do word processing or send email, but would need someone with root privileges to actually install software.
So, do you see the Internet as an important part of the infrastructure required for development? What can be done to increase Internet access in Vermont? You know, there was a bill passed recently in the state legislature, H516, which requires state agencies to consider use of open source software.
It's a beginning. I mean, that's an honest attempt at doing something good, but as far as Internet access goes, maybe Gaelan will have a different answer for this, but I live in a very rural mountainous area of Vermont where even the U.S. Post Office no longer delivers the mail. And we gave ourselves Internet access through radios. We formed a cooperative, set up a bunch of radios, put radios on certain windmills so that our Internet access is actually off-grid. When the power goes out, we have Internet. There's which is, as a professional, it's the only reason why I can live and homestead in such a remote area. So I'm really lucky, and it's a very unique situation. There's also a very expensive type of boondoggle idea going on with laying fiber optic cable all over Vermont. And, you know, God bless them, they may be able to do it in a few small areas like the Mad River Valley, where people have been clamoring for it for some time. But eventually that's going to run out of steam. It's a huge public works project, like $1,000 a foot net cost for this cable. Why not localize it? Why not do it with radios? Right. Something that works in Nebraska might not be best suited for Vermont.
Yeah, I think Burlington Telecom is a good example of what the cost of those kind of fiber lines can meet. I mean, it's prohibitively expensive. If you don't have a mega industrial value for it, I don't think the numbers pencil out. I think wireless is much more feasible and flexible, and we already have infrastructure in place. I mean, everybody already has cable. You can pipe internet through cable. Why do we need another set of wires? Sure, fiber would be 100 times the capacity, and yes, you could do a lot of things. But I think one of the reasons that they switched from to digital television nationally through all the networks was to open up a huge chunk of the broadband of the Ethernet networks, of the ether, to give more options for wireless connectivity. There's sort of two approaches to internet. There are wireless satellite repeaters, boosters, radio, and then there's the fiber lines. So,
of course, the same company can use both. Burlington Telecom in Burlington, where the population is dense,
right.
The fiber lines are very effective here with a large capacity. Whereas out in rural Vermont, where you both live, wireless is probably more effective, but Burlington Telecom could set up a combination of the two.
Sure.
We could have a fiber line running down Route 7 with wireless substations all along the way to serve all of the state of Vermont. Robert, you have a very interesting idea there of using Wi-Fi and connecting it up to the windmills. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, this is more than just the Wi-Fi that enables your laptop to get to your home router so you can go anywhere in the house and have internet. This is a different band, so to speak. that allows reasonably close area communication between radios, such as a few blocks in Burlington or a half a mile out in the mountains. And so what you do is you take these cheap little radios and put them up. And as long as they have power through a generator, they don't take very much power, generator, windmill, whatever, you have internet. Eventually, that's a local area network that then needs to tie into the global internet somehow. And in Ripton, we do that through a tower in Cornwall that's owned by, I believe, by Middlebury College or someone there in Middlebury. And so as long as that link is up, the entire, all of Ripton has broadband internet. And it's pretty cheap to do. It costs each subscriber anywhere from $10 to $50 a month, based on the bandwidth they're willing to pay for. I pay $50 a month as a business and get great speeds.
But that connection with the tower at Middlebury College, that's probably Comcast, right?
That is not Comcast. That's private. That's privately leased internet access. It's a chunk of the bandwidth.
You must be paying a lot for that, though.
Not too much. It
If it works out to
averaged
10 to 50 a month for the user, it can't be...
Yeah, 10 to 50 a month for the user, plus the radio plus the installation costs about $150.
So that's actually more expensive than what we pay in Burlington, I think. The last time I looked, Comcast was about $40 a month, and you don't have you don't have the $150 fee.
Comcast can afford to do things like that at a loss. So we don't know what's going on at Comcast. So we don't know what it really costs them to do it. It might be low, it might be high, depending on how they figure it. If they've
Burlington Telecom's even cheaper. They're about $30.
Yeah, but if the physical infrastructure already exists,
Right.
piggybacking a signal on top of everything else at a different frequency costs you only the power to piggyback that signal, which is not very much. If you're laying lines for it, that's another story entirely.
Yeah.
And then maintenance is actually the lion's share of the cost.
So on page 28 and 9 of Tom's book here, Tom writes that like the former Soviet Union, we have a single-party political system in the United States, and that our government is a cross between an oligarchy and an autocracy, disguised as a democracy. On page 103 of the book, he writes that real democracy might someday replace pseudo-democracy. Do you believe that we have only pseudo-democracy in the United States? And if so, what would be necessary to turn it into real democracy? How would the democracy in an independent Vermont be different from what we now have?
Well, one of the Greek words that doesn't really enter the picture because we're not taught that word in school is polity, not democracy, but a polity. The Greeks considered democracy to be an inferior form of government compared to a polity, which was direct participation of all those involved. That's what we have in Vermont on a local level. We have a polity, we have open meetings, we have town meetings, we have power flowing up from the local level rather than power being imposed down from upper levels. And this is what I think he was talking about with direct democracy. Democracy, however, in terms of the U.S., is some representatives going off to heaven knows where, and they're lobbied very heavily by multinational corporations. They're not listening to us. They're telling us what's good for us. They're telling us what we're thinking, and I don't believe we have a voice, so I can't really call that real democracy.